Jesse, is just go ahead and pronounce your name and then spell it and give me your rank and everything.
Okay.
And just go ahead and make eye contact with Silas.
Okay. Senior Airman Jesse Daniels, E4, and it's JESSE DANIELS.
Okay. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. We're here to talk about your diagnosis, but I kind of wanted to start by going a little bit before that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about why and when you joined the Air Guard?
Okay. When was May 5th, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a point in my life where I had dropped out of college a couple of times. I was working part-time jobs and felt like I needed discipline and direction. And I had a couple of friends in the Army Guard, and they had certainly got that. But I was it was kind of a scary time to join the Army Guard, especially if you're not a warrior type. And I certainly wasn't a warrior type. I never saw myself as a fighter. And so I did a lot of research into the military and thought that I wanted to find that discipline and direction with a career field that I could come over into civilian life if that's what I wanted to do. I know a lot of times it's hard to transition for military folks because their jobs don't translate into the civilian world, and so I was really interested in my future if one way or the other I wanted it to translate. And so I found, and I've always been in love with electronics and anything electrical electronics, and I found that with the Air Guard, with telecommunications work. And so when I found that job, I jumped on it. The tech school was the longest tech school that there was. It was 7 months, and that was another thing that interested me. It was going to get me away from here. At that time, I wanted away badly. Came back quickly, but I wanted to get away. And I did. I spent 7 months in Biloxi, Mississippi, which was just an awesome time. And that was the reason, was some discipline and direction in life. And best thing I ever did as far as discipline and direction. I got those without a doubt in a way that I couldn't have gotten any other way.
You mentioned you dropped out of college a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you in school?
Right over here in Warner at Connors State College. It was the first time I dropped out, was there. Then I went to OSU Okmulgee to study electronics, but I never got through the gen ed classes to get to the electronics classes, and so I dropped out again because of math. I was terrible with math, and electronics is not if you don't like math, is not the career field for you.
I was going to say, there's probably a lot of math with that.
Oh, yes. I've been through Calculus 2 now, and had great grades all the way through Calculus 2, Calculus 1, trig, algebra, and physics. And I love math now. After the Air Force, I got to jump right into technical classes in the Air Force. There was no English, math, history, none of that. You go straight to electronics, and I excelled in it. And so when I got through with my Air Force tech school and I realized that I could excel in the technical aspect of it, I realized that the gen ed part of college was just a necessary milestone to get over, an obstacle to get over, so that I could get into actual college course electronics classes and excel again. And so as I mentioned, I dropped out a couple of times afterwards, after the Air Force tech school, and built my confidence and my discipline. I went back to school, straight A student, for the most part, mostly A's, and that was the case. That's been the case since the Air Force. Whatever classes I take, I do really well in them. I take them a lot more seriously, whether I really enjoy the class or not. I view it as a necessary obstacle to meet my goals, and I just look at things differently now. And so I take all those classes a lot more seriously.
When you went back to school, where did you go?
OSU Okmulgee, yeah, right back to OSU IT, which is Oklahoma State University Institute of Technology,
Yeah.
and did the applied science and electrical electronics. I was working on my bachelor's degree, and I was actually getting really close to it. I think I was 2 semesters away at one point when I was diagnosed with cancer. That knocked me out for more than 2 semesters, and a lot of the degree changed up, and so it ended up being 2 more years after that, or I could graduate the next semester with my associates and get to work. And I opted for that. I just did my internship and graduated with my associates and gave up on that bachelor's degree. I still intend to get a bachelor's. I'm just not entirely sure in what yet. So.
You kind of going back to your service, has it all been National Guard, or were you ever inactive as well?
All National Guard.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And have you deployed at all?
I haven't, just stateside.
Okay.
So there was the Boston job was Title 10 orders, but it was stateside.
Okay.
Yeah, the first time that I had the opportunity to go overseas was right as I was diagnosed. We were about to go to Australia and Antigua and back to Afghanistan. My unit was going back to Afghanistan, but I was diagnosed at that point, and so that didn't work out.
Mm-hmm. I know we were talking kind of before we got the camera going about your job in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a bit about that? What exactly had you doing there?
Yeah, so what I did there was climb towers. I've actually got some pretty cool pictures of me rappelling off of a radome and dismantling and demilitarizing a radar. One of the first radars in the country that kind of made the way for NEXRAD radar and stuff. So I got to work around some MIT guys that have been working on that radar their whole lives and learn a lot. I learned a lot about radars there. Radar is not my specialty. I'm just RF radio, ground radio. And so I got to learn a lot about the radar, but it was all in tearing it apart and destroying it. And so it was a lot more manual labor than actual learning and having to actually figure any technical things out. It was all the learning I did there was on my own, just asking questions and, what does this do and that do, as we, destroyed it with sledgehammers and threw it in the trash can. Because that was our job there, was to demilitarize and make sure nobody else could put the thing back together. And we also dismantled the radome, which is the triangle golf ball thing on top of the radar towers. We dismantled it and stored it to be reused by the military somewhere else.
Okay. And how long were you there?
2 months.
Okay. What kinds of things does your unit do?
We do hardened installs of electrical, electronics, communications, and air traffic control equipment.
What kind of, to a civilian who doesn't know their way around this, what might that look like?
That looks like anything.
Okay. And so up to today, you've been in the Guard for 6 years, and consistently going to drill and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not been a pretty consistent member.
Absolutely, yes, and everybody at my unit would agree with that. I've done everything asked of me, and was always very enthusiastic about it. I enjoyed the unit. I really do. I enjoy all the people there. They're good people to work with, and it was certainly one of the best things I've ever done was join that particular unit, because they are a wonderful unit.
Okay. And your unit, during the time that you've been there, they haven't really gone anywhere other than I mean, I assume you did AT.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but they haven't like deployed anywhere overseas other than the thing that they were ramping up for.
They deployed to Afghanistan as soon as I got to the unit,
Okay.
and I wasn't at a place. Oh, and I take that back because there was, I guess I could have went on that job if they needed me to go.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't selected to go on that deployment to Afghanistan. Because there was a girl that went to Afghanistan that got to the unit just 2-3 months before me, and she did go to Afghanistan. And so I think I was at a place where I could have. They just didn't need me, and I was in school mid-semester in math classes, and so I didn't fight to go that time. I had planned to get done with school and then go to Afghanistan afterwards. And so they've been to Afghanistan, I guess, 3 times since I've been in. I believe they go every 18 months.
Okay, and how long are those deployments?
6-month deployments.
So the one that they had coming up.
Exactly, the best vacation place in the world, and it's pretty brutal. And everybody talks about, it's tough work and it's brutal, but we do all this training. I put so many man hours into preparing for that it was certainly heartbreaking to not be able to go, to get the chance to go, and to think that we're wrapping up there as a country. We're kind of wrapping up what we're doing in Afghanistan, and so the opportunity to go is kind of coming to a close. And so it was a bum deal that I didn't get to participate in that.
You said you put a lot of man hours into prepping for that. What does that look like? What are you doing when you're preparing?
Well, basic training for one, of course. 2 months in Lackland, Texas. Pretty interesting time. Looking back, it was wonderful. While you're there, it's the most terrifying, awful thing in the world. And most people will say that has been through, I guess, any basic training. Looking back, it was great. But while you're there, you just wanted out. You just wanted to go home so bad. But then 7 months in Biloxi, Mississippi, at Keesler Air Force Base, doing 9 hours a day, 5 days a week, radio school, clearing a college course every week. That was hard. There was a test at the end of every week. If you failed to do in the military up until that point, even to the medical preparation, keeping your dental forms up to date and keeping all of your deployment paperwork up to date. We put a lot of work into our unit can deploy, I believe, in a day, in 24 hours from the phone call to being in the plane off the ground. I think we're a 24-hour unit, and so there's a lot of paperwork that has to be upkept, and so all of that's preparation for Afghanistan. That's really what it boils down to. The reason that we do all of this computer-based training modules and death by PowerPoint every drill weekend, and is so that we can go do our job in Afghanistan. And my unit does very well at that. When we go, we are talked about. We're a very efficient unit. We get the job done. We get the last deployment to Afghanistan. A lot of our members got awards, and there was some big accomplishments that got done.
At what point in that process did you get your diagnosis?
After all of the initial training, I was up to just the upkeep paperwork. That was where I was at, was the upkeep, and so that I could be prepared at any moment to go. But all the initial stuff was done.
So all the initial paperwork, all the initial training, everything you needed.
Everything I needed to go, I was done with. Yep. All I was doing at that point was staying prepared and advancing my career as far as rank and time in service and all that.
Okay. And how did, what was your first clue that you were sick?
I've always been since I joined the Air Force, I should say, I've been very athletic. I never ran before until I joined the Air Force, started running and found out I enjoyed it, and so I was real big into running. At one point I was running about 30 miles a week, and my long runs were about 6 to 8 mile runs, and I was doing them in pretty good times. I truly enjoyed running. And while I was in college, I started working out with a friend that I had all the same classes with. He was in the same degree program, and so we had the same breaks during the day, and we started working out and running, and he kept getting better and better, and I kept getting worse and worse. And my run time started slowing down to a point where I couldn't even finish my 1.5-mile run anymore. And I was pretty naive because it got to a point where we'd get about halfway through a workout and I would fall asleep. I would go lay down for a minute to rest, and I would fall asleep and wake up, and he'd wake me up and be like, "Hey man, we're done. It's time to go to class." And it was like, oh man. And it got to a point where I couldn't walk more than 20 feet without losing my breath and getting a headache. My heart would start racing, and I actually thought I was having heart problems, and that's when I actually went to the doctor. I thought I had a heart attack. My storage building that we lived in, I started to dig. I had to dig a ditch to it to direct bury some Cat 5 cable so that we could have internet over there for school. And I started digging that ditch, and I made it not 4 feet, and I just couldn't breathe. I fell down and just laid there on the ground for a little while and thought I was dying. And then it went away. Got up, went in the house, took a nap, woke up, felt fine. And that's the way it was for a little while. Like I'd walk to the car, feel terrible, take a nap, wake up, feel fine. And I scheduled, before this got real bad, I had scheduled and paid for a snowboard trip to Colorado with my wife. First vacation we were going to go on. We were going to go snowboarding in Colorado with some friends. And when I couldn't walk 20 feet anymore, I thought, well, snowboarding's not going to go well. And so I thought it was time to go to the doctor. And so I went and told him he had 2 weeks to fix me because I had a snowboard trip I was going on. And they found out I was anemic and wanted to do a colonoscopy, and that's when they found the tumor in my sigmoid of my colon. And they told me I couldn't go snowboarding because I had this huge tumor that needed to be removed immediately. But I told them I'd already paid for it and I was going, so I needed a blood transfusion. And after arguing for a couple of hours, they gave me a couple of blood transfusions and I went snowboarding because I knew it was going to be... They hadn't told me it was cancer yet, but I'd figured it was going to be a long road of recovery. And so I wanted my last my last fun trip that I was going to have for a while. And so I did. I went snowboarding, learned how to snowboard actually, and had a great week and came back. The day we got back, I had my emergency resection surgery. And yeah, that's how I found out. Snowboard trip.
And when was that?
March of 2014, spring break.
And how long was the process from when you kind of started to figure something was wrong but you didn't know what it was until going to the doctor? How long was that period?
It was about a month. I was, like I said, I was pretty naive. I didn't think there could possibly be something medically wrong with me. I thought maybe I was stressed. I was full-time school, working more than full-time as a subcontractor and doing drill. I was a youth pastor, and I was preaching sermons on Sundays now and again, and doing worship music. And so I had a lot going on. I didn't sleep a whole lot, and so I thought maybe I was just stressed. So I wrote a lot of how I felt off to just being stressed.
Okay. And you're a pretty young guy to get colon cancer.
Mm-hmm. Every doctor's been shocked.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. No family history. No. Actually, the only thing I have in my family history is heart trouble, and my heart's in great shape, fortunately, because it's been checked several times now, and so fortunately, it's in good shape.
Okay. Are you in remission now, or how are you?
I am at a point with colon cancer. It's a real slow growing cancer. And so after the surgery that I had, which was the HIPAC surgery with profusion, you have to wait 2 years after that surgery, get a CAT scan. If you're cancer free, it's looking good. I'm only a year into that 2-year wait period. So a year from now, I'll know a lot more about whether or not I really am in remission. Because it just grows so slowly that right now it could be on its way back and not show any signs, symptoms, not show up on CAT scans, PET scans, anything. So that's where I am. You could say I'm in remission. I'm not doing any treatments. I'm just recovering from a surgery, trying to get off of pain medications right now. I've had a lot of chronic pain from the surgery. And so I'm just in recovery, waiting on being in remission, or truly in remission, I guess.
When was that surgery?
January of 2015.
Okay. And I guess at that point, you're not going to Afghanistan.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. Well, about probably halfway through the chemo, I started realizing that how bad it really was. I was in quite a bit of denial about how bad my situation was for a long time. And so I really felt like I was just going to be, this was just going to be a year deal. I was going to get chemo, a surgery. I'd be back on my feet in 3 months, back to doing everything as I did it before. I never imagined, I've had several surgeries in my life, and I never imagined that there would be a surgery that kept me from doing what I wanted to do for more than a couple of months. This one took every bit of 6 months to where I could do just day-to-day anything. Get out of bed and just do stuff during the day. I mean, it's been a year now, and I haven't been to the emergency room in probably 2 or 3 months, and that's the longest I've went without going to the ER for one thing or another. Another thing that caused my recovery to take so long was my gallbladder. They thought my gallbladder was going out or having problems, and so they tried to remove it. And so they did the full surgery to remove it, but they couldn't because of the previous surgery and chemo, all the scar tissue, and so that surgery was done in April. And so I was just recovering, just getting on my feet from the January surgery, and they did that surgery, and it really knocked me down pretty hard. I got pretty just down over that one. I was laid in bed for quite a while after that one. It hurt a lot worse. I think it's just because just because of everything that I'd already been through. I mean, I was running on fumes as far as recovering goes. Just the willpower it takes to recover from a surgery. I was running on fumes and, thinking I was right there towards the end. I was trying to get off pain medicine, and then that happened, and it took a lot out of me. And that was when things really started to feel like it was going to be a long road.
Yeah. And at what point do you find out that, up to this point, TRICARE is your only insurance, is that right?
Yes, TRICARE has been, since I got married. As soon as I got married, I enrolled in TRICARE and started paying the premium for family insurance, which is, it's like a $200 premium. And I had no clue if it was even good health insurance. I didn't care. I wanted to be responsible. I was getting married, and to be honest, the only reason I got it is because I was getting married, and I thought, I knew I wasn't going to go to the doctor for anything. Like I said, that tumor almost killed me before I finally went, and it was just because it was getting in the way of a snowboard trip.
Right.
I had no intentions of getting sick or going to that, but I thought my wife, I thought it was just the responsible thing to do to get health insurance so that when we decided to have kids and all that, that we would be covered. I didn't have health insurance before that, and I thought, it's just one of those things. When you get married, you feel a lot more responsible, and you don't want to take as big of risks anymore because it's not just you anymore. And I didn't want to put her in a financial hardship, and so I thought, for me too, I mean, I knew that it was responsible for me to have it because I've broken bones and I've been injured many times, and I thought, for an ER visit or whatever, this is good to have. And so I finally talked myself into getting it. And yeah, we paid our premiums faithfully, and they took great, and they've taken great care of this. It's been wonderful. It's great insurance. I don't doubt that there's not better insurance out there.
What made you go with TRICARE instead of, was your wife teaching at the time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Instead of like through the school district, or I'm sure there were other options.
There were none that we could afford.
Oh, okay.
Her through the state, her health insurance. She showed me the paper a while back when we found out TRICARE wasn't going to, and I had seen it before, and that's why I just went with TRICARE. A lot of people at my unit talked about TRICARE being really good, and they said, you really want to do this. It's a good deal. And people I trusted, and so that was the biggest reason. But also that it was so much more affordable, and it was affordable because I had signed the papers and devoted myself to the military, and so it was one of those. I almost wanted to use it because it's kind of a benefit to joining, even though you have to pay for it. It's still really good health insurance, very affordable, and it's one of the perks of being in the military. And so that's certainly the reason I went with it. It was affordable. Everybody talked good about it. It seemed like the only reasonable thing to do. I mean, just looking at it on paper, nothing else made sense. It would have been ridiculous of me to go with any other health insurance as far as for the cost and for the quality of coverage. It would have just been silly to go with anything else.
And just to make sure readers are clear, that covers. I mean, if you sprain your ankle playing basketball or something like that, nothing to do with your service, that would cover that.
Absolutely. It is health insurance in every way it should be. I only wish that all health insurance worked as well as TRICARE as far as coverage goes. I called them when I was diagnosed. I was terrified when I was diagnosed. I thought there's no way that this military health care is going to cover this. And I called and said, do you cover cancer? I just got one of their representatives and said, do you cover cancer? And I was pretty traumatized at that time, and so I was really expecting the worst, and the lady said, we cover everything. As long as, and she looked at, make sure I was paying my premium and that I was enrolled. She said, as long as you're enrolled, we cover everything.
Okay.
Yeah, with everything with cancer, she said there's nothing outside of what we can cover. There's some alternative medicines and stuff that they won't, but as far as standard Western treatments of cancer, that they've covered everything. I think 2 different medicines I've had to call them and say, hey, this is what my doctor's telling me I need, and they said, oh, okay, that's not normal, but okay. 2 phone calls I believe is all I've had to make for the entire 2 years I've been battling this now.
Okay. And at what point did you find out that might come to an end?
About October or just probably November of last year. Is when the unit started asking me questions about my commander left. The commander that was there when I was diagnosed left, and the new commander started asking questions about when I was going to come back and when, or if I was going to be able to. And at the time, I had no clue. I was in, like I said, I just had a second surgery. I was back in bed and sick, going to the ER once a month for different this and that. And so I had no clue. I really didn't. I've come a long ways in 4 months. 4 months ago, we probably couldn't have had this interview without me getting sick and having to take a break as far as not having the energy for it, and which seems ridiculous, but what the surgeries and the chemo and all that's done to my body, it doesn't cease to amaze me at how much it drains. I never thought it would take effort to sit, but after that surgery, sitting down, laying down, all of that, it felt like I was running a marathon all the time. I was just so wore out. And so in the last 4 months, since I've found out that they may not, or that they wouldn't cover me once I got out of the military, and that the military was going to probably not allow me to stay in, yeah, it was kind of a blow. It was devastating to think. Because what do you do at this point?
How did you get that news? Is there a letter or a phone call?
It was basically, I just kind of put 2 and 2 together. I called TRICARE and asked them. They told me that they will allow me to have insurance as long as I'm eligible through DEERS. So I called DEERS. DEERS was the most awful people I've ever called before.
Yeah.
I asked him for his name, the guy I was talking to. He said he did not have to give me his name. And I said, who are you accountable to? He said, I'm not accountable. He gave me no information. Wouldn't give me his name. I learned nothing from DEERS about what makes me eligible. I had to find that out through other channels, that what makes me eligible for health insurance is being in the reserves or active duty or retired. those are the three options, either reserve, active duty, or retired. And medical retirement, so I looked at all the different retirement as a thing only after 15 years.
Right.
And which I don't want, nor I don't expect, I don't even want retirement. I mean, that's not what I'm asking for. And so I get that you can't have medical retirement until you put 15 years in. I understand that. That makes sense. I mean, it is what it is. It makes sense. But the health insurance going away is, I don't believe that anybody intentionally ever wanted this situation to occur. I don't think anybody that ever wrote the laws of how TRICARE would be used by military members ever put any thought into this, or they wouldn't have done it. I think this is just a mistake that you can lose your health insurance because you got sick. I don't think that if that was put to anyone in a position that makes decisions on what makes you eligible for TRICARE, that they would say no to that. That they would say no to someone that didn't do anything wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I have committed no crimes. I served with honor, did everything I was asked to do. I just got cancer, and certainly didn't ask for that. And they're going to take my health insurance from me for no other reason than that. I don't want out of the military, but I do understand that if I can't do my job, that I don't belong there. It's a sad reality, but it's the military. It's not a civilian job.
Right.
We are all warriors, whether we are trained for it or not, specifically. Even the technical guys, we all train like warriors. I've never had any much sympathy for members that can't pass the PT test and keep up. It's part of it, and I've always believed that's part of it. Stay in shape, take care of yourself. That's part of being in the military. It is. I get that, and I can't do a PT test right now. I can't even run. Not for a mile and a half in a certain amount of time. I can't even run. I mean, I would probably look ridiculous if I tried to run right now. I know I can't do push-ups or sit-ups. Maybe a couple with terrible form. But it's just a crappy thing. Like I said, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to stay in. I enjoyed it. This is the best thing I've ever done. It's changed my life. It's been nothing but good to me. Even the crappy stuff has built character and been really good for me. And so I'm not real excited that I'm getting out, but I do get it. I do understand that I'm not fit to fight. So if they want to kick me out for my health, I'm not arguing that. I do understand that part of it. What I just don't understand is how they can take your health insurance from you when it's not your choice. It's a benefit, and for those who do get out of the military, you lose that benefit when you voluntarily get out of the military or get kicked out for any reason. For other than honorable reasons or whatever. I get that you lose that benefit. But it just doesn't make sense that I didn't do anything wrong to get kicked out. This isn't a choice, you know. It's just a crappy situation. I was on track to have a very successful career in the military, alongside my civilian career.
When is your enlistment up?
May 4th.
May 4th. And at that point, if I remember correctly, you said over the phone that you wouldn't lose it immediately after that. Is that right?
That's all up in the air. I do not know. There's a chance that the appeals process may drag out past my enlistment date if they allow me to appeal. I'm really not sure how all that works. None of this has been explained real clearly to me. The 219th, we don't do medical processing or anything like that. The 138th Fighter Wing does. And I believe they did their jobs and did everything that they were able to do. But this is all very gray area and not common. And so it's been a very uncommon thing for a lot of the employees there to go through the process of this, because it's not common. You know, it's just one of those, if you don't do it every day, you're not good at it. And so this has been kind of a rocky path to go down. Nothing's been explained very well. I signed some papers a while back about being medically discharged, but I'm not real sure what they meant. I read them, but I'm not a lawyer, and so I was kind of forced to sign them. I was threatened with administrative action if I didn't show up to that drill, and they told me that the reason I was here was to sign these papers, and so I'd better sign them. And I was really sick at that time. Like I said, that was a couple of months ago, and I was in a lot worse shape then. And so I just signed them so that they would leave me alone. And so, but I'm not real sure what they were, if I'm going to be able to appeal the process. And so that's all. When I lose my health insurance, kind of contingent on whether or not I'm able to appeal the decision from the medical evaluation board that's going to look at this and see if I'm fit to stay in, or so I guess the determinations they can make is fit, no restrictions, fit with restrictions, or you're out. And what it looks like is that I'll be out because of my situation and the way my health was, especially then. But I don't know yet, and I don't know what the decision will be. I think I know what it'll be, but I don't know. And so that's why I believe on May 4th they'll probably have all of their paperwork done and in a line to get me out on that day. I mean, I'm sure that'll be the case, because if they don't, then I'm automatically extended until they make that determination. They can't just kick you out before they make a determination, or make you not re-enlist or whatever. You know, I guess they can do that, but so I'm sure they'll have their determination from the medical review board soon.
And if you are out at the beginning of May, where does that leave you? I mean, you won't be eligible for TRICARE anymore. What are your other options as far as health insurance is concerned?
Well, we're back to my wife's health insurance, which is completely unaffordable through the state. And I've tried to go through and I was on track for that. I've been doing an internship in the electronics field, and
With OG&E, right?
yes.
Okay.
But unfortunately, due to my health situation, I'm not able to get a job with them full time, and so I can't get health insurance through. That was my option. That was my best case scenario. Basically, the only way it was going to work out was, getting a job with a company, with a corporation like that offers healthcare coverage benefits, and I think that would have worked. I've talked to a lot of people that work there about their health insurance coverage, and it was going to be quite a bit more expensive still yet, but doable, especially since I would be working. That was going to make a substantial difference. But that's kind of fell through now.
And that was, if I remember correctly, you said that was just a matter of your painkillers, is that right?
Because of my pain medicine that I'm on, I was unable to drive a company vehicle, and so they didn't think that I could do the job because I was unable to drive a company vehicle.
Was that, I think you mentioned that you're trying to kind of work your way off of pain medication. Was there any, like, once you're off of that, come back and see us or anything like that?
Yes,
okay.
Certainly. I was encouraged to, once I got off of my pain medicine, to go back and seek employment again.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how long that might be?
No. I don't. I've been trying to get off the pain medicine, but I'm certainly on them for a reason. It's been very difficult to get off of them.
What happens when you go off of them?
Well, the pain in my abdominal cavity from the adhesions and scar tissue are pretty bad, and it exhausts me to, like, it just takes a lot of energy from me to a point where I'm not able to go through the day and do a full day's work. If I sit in a chair at home and not do anything on a heating pad, I'm okay. I mean, I can survive that, but actually out working, doing anything, even office work, I mean, even sitting in an office chair doing computer work and running around in an office, it gets exhausting. I have to take naps during the day, which I've never done before until this. I've never taken naps, but that's one thing. If I don't have the right pain management, I just get real exhausted and tired and can't perform the tasks I need to do during the day.
So it's bad to the point that it would prevent you from working if you weren't.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think I could work right now without the pain medicine. I hope that changes soon. And I believe it will. But at the moment, that's where I'm at. Like I said, I've come a long ways in 4 months. From not going to the ER anymore, not sometime in November,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay. Actually, I think that's about what I need, unless there's anything else you wanted to add.
No, I don't, I don't, the reputation of OG&E. For what they've done is what they had to do.
Right.
I was pretty angry about it for a little while, but they have to protect themselves. They can't have somebody driving a company vehicle on stage 2 narcotics, and I get that.
Yeah.
That's just an unfortunate part of this whole story, is that I'm going to be unemployed soon because of my cancer as well. I mean, it's just kind of an unfortunate part of it, but I don't hold anybody responsible for that. It's just part of being sick.
Yeah, we can make sure we point that out in the story, because it does seem, like you said, driving a company vehicle is, I guess that's a touchy thing.
Right. I mean, just think of the story you would write if I had a wreck in a company vehicle.
Right.
You know, I mean, what would that look like for OG&E? It would be terrible.
I have a question for the video, though, Jesse, and you've talked about it with Silas a couple times throughout the video, but I want to just focus this one question on this, that just having the diagnosis of stage 4 cancer is enough for, it is a big burden for any individual, but to couple that news with now the possible separation from the military and then the insurance issues, share with the readers, if you would, having to kind of balance or work way through all of those issues at the same time. And you can go and talk to Jesse. I'm Silas.
That has been balancing, like you said, colon cancer. The news that you're 26, you're 24. I was 24 at the time. That was my birthday present. I actually just turned 25. I got my colonoscopy for my birthday. It was wonderful. To be diagnosed with colon cancer at 25 years old, and stage 4 at that, and being told by the surgeon that this is going to be a terrible, terrible fight. This is bad. I've been very fortunate to have doctors that were very honest with me, and they told me it was bad, and it was going to be bad, and they were 100% right. That was terrible news, and plenty, I would say. That was enough. I didn't need any more bad news after that. And so finding out about losing my health care, or my health insurance, on top of that was, it was too much. But what do? I mean, you just try to fight for what's right, and it's given me some purpose, because like I've talked with you and several other people, it's not just about me. I can't imagine anybody going through what I'm going through right now. And losing their health insurance in the middle of all this it's too much. Nobody should go through that. I haven't balanced it. I haven't handled it any more than I've had to. I mean, it's life. You no choice. You handle it. You have to. It's there. But it has given me some purpose in wanting to make sure nobody else goes through this. Because like I said, getting diagnosed with cancer is plenty for anybody. They don't need anything else. I don't care who it is, how old they are, what situation they're in. It's plenty of news for the rest of their life. And so I can't help everybody in every situation, but I would hope that I can help others in my particular situation that are promised this coverage as long as they're willing to stay in the military, and never being told that there's any caveat to that until it's too late and here I am, and they're like, oh, except for if you get sick, then you can't keep your health insurance if you're willing to stay in and willing to take care of yourself, because I've taken great care of myself. I've done everything that I was supposed to do to fight for this country. And like I said, I'm not a warrior. I'm just an electronics troop. I just work on radios. But I do it for the same reason that warriors do what they do. I love this country. And I wanted to do my part in taking care of it.
Okay.
Yeah.